Today, I want to show you how to interpret your birth chart to understand what house of your chart a particular transit is going to be moving through. Now, let me give you a little diagram just to make things a little bit clearer. The thing to remember is that each of these little segments, so we've got a circle divided into 12 pieces of pie. Each piece of pie has got a different meaning, okay? Each piece of pie is a different division of the life. So it has different topics associated with it. Now, the first thing to work out is what is the zodiacal sign? Now, zodiacal sign is like Cancer, Leo. These are all zodiacal signs. Which one is rising? Now, this is the eastern horizon over here. And this line that divides the chart into two is the horizon line. And Cancer, this is the symbol for Cancer, is the rising sign here, or the ascendant. They both mean the same thing. So if this was your birth chart, now I've removed a lot of the planets just so that we don't get distracted by looking at too many different things, but you can see that this is Cancer rising, and I've included the sun. So you can see the sun is actually below the horizon because this is a 6 o'clock chart and it's winter. So the sun hasn't yet risen in this person's chart. So if we wanted to understand what transits this person's having, so where are the planets moving through this person's chart at the moment? Now, transits are the application of the chart of the here and now moment over the top of your birth chart. So let's have a look. I'm going to do what we call a bi-wheel, which is showing you this chart, but with a lot more detail. And I'm going to overlay it with the chart of the here and now moment. Now, it'll have a lot more information, but it's actually the same chart. So you can see here, we've got 1 degree of Cancer rising, and there's our horizon line. And the sun still hasn't risen yet. This is exactly the same chart, but it's just got a lot more information in it. I've included all the planets here. So let's use a couple of examples. Mercury is about to station retrograde today. Mercury, if we move this forward by 1 day, you'll see that planet is retrograde. It's got this little RX next to it, which means that that planet is appearing to move backward in the sky. So Mercury, if this was your chart, would be making its retrograde through the second house and highlighting second house topics for you to re-examine. Now, that could be about the way you spend your money, maybe setting a budget, maybe preparing or planning to make a big purchase. This is the type of stuff that Mercury retrograde through the second house is likely to highlight. So if this was your chart and you had Cancer rising, Leo ruling the second house, now see what I've done? This is Leo, this symbol on the cusp of the second house. Our transiting planet is inside that house, and it's going to go back to 4 degrees of Leo's. And then on the 11th of August, it'll station direct. So you can see here, we've got that Mercury here, and it's going to station direct and move forward again. So it's sort of doing a dance, a back and forward dance. Now, we don't just look at Mercury. If we want to understand some other planets and where they are sort of activating in our birth chart, then we can just do the same thing. We get up our birth chart and we would look for the zodiacal sign of where the planet is transiting. So let me give you an example. So let's take a look at Jupiter and the Jupiter transit for this particular person as another example. Now, back to the bi-wheel and remembering that the inside wheel is the person, their birth chart, and the second chart around the outside is the chart of the here and now. So Jupiter makes a yearly transit through each sign of the zodiac. So currently Jupiter is in Cancer. So it's in the first house of this person's birth chart. So the first house is a very personal house. It's connected to your life path. It's connected to your physical health and vitality, your physical body, what it is that really lights you up in this life. So it's very personal. And having Jupiter there in the sign of its exaltation, which means that Jupiter is very strong and powerful there. So see how we're looking at the individual planet and what that planet means, and we're infusing it with the meaning of the house. So this person might experience, growth opportunities, or interest in spiritual matters. They might be inclined to go and do further studies. They could even get pregnant this year or have an interest in fertility, healing the family lineage, because Jupiter's in the sign of Cancer, which connects to family, but also as a planet, Jupiter is about family and healing. Or the person might actually decide to go on a big adventure and go traveling. Now, this is likely to be a very fortunate time for this person, but there is one caveat. Now, the only downside is that Jupiter is also the ruler of the sixth house, which is the house connected to potential illness. Now, this could bring Jupiterian illnesses. Now, Jupiter is in the sign of its exaltation, which can sometimes bring excess, not looking after the stomach. Okay, so Jupiter's in Cancer, the sign of the stomach. Maybe this person, you know, gets a few really bad hangovers. Maybe this person has some kind of challenge with their liver. Maybe they really need to take some additional liver support during this period. They also might gain weight. This is a very classical, common thing, but when Jupiter transits the first house, because it's connected to our physical body, but it's also connected to growth and expansion, people can actually gain weight. So, but the sixth has other meanings too. So it could also indicate, for example, the person gets a new pet. The sixth house is the house of pets. And Jupiter being in such a beautiful, strong sign, it could be a really positive experience. So that could be a positive way to look at that. Another thing is that the sixth house is about routines and setting up a good routine. So I think with Jupiter ruling it, especially in exaltation, it would be important to have a routine for this person that they enjoy, that helps them to achieve their goals and grow. So it's a very interesting thing when we start to apply the movement of the planets to our own personal charts. Now, I'm just going to share one more time and see what else we can see with looking at the transits for this particular person. So we've also got Venus happening here. So you can see this symbol means Venus, and this is in the 12th house of the chart. And we can see Venus actually quite close to natal Venus. Now, natal Venus is in the 12th. And so this is what we would call a Venus return. And we can see that this person is potentially going through some challenges in regard to relationships and friendships, because the ruler of their 11th house of friendship, so this is Taurus on the cusp, but Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is in the 12th. So traditionally speaking, this can indicate friends become enemies. So this could be highlighting that latent natal kind of inclination for that to be a theme in the person's life. So that is possible. The other thing is that this person might, maybe spend more time in private. They might form alliances through, say, retreats or faraway spiritual practices. But there is a potential that this could be a little bit challenging. Now, the other thing is that Venus, who we're looking at here, rules the fourth house. And the fourth house is the house of home and living, but also the house of your family. And that is in the 12th. So there is the possibility at this point that if we had family members who were sick, especially parents, the 12th house has got some connections to illness and especially hospitalizations. Another manifestation of this is that the person could actually move very far away into a very remote place for spiritual practice or for recalibration and healing. So there's many different manifestations of these transits. So it's important to look at it with a very wide, curious perspective. Everyone's going to be different, and there's numerous ways that these transits can play out. So yeah, that's another example. You can see again here, Mars is about to cross over into the third house for this person. It's been moving through the second house. Now, Mars moving through the second house can be a time when we really churn and burn our resources. Can be known for quite a bit of spending going on in this period. With Mars moving into the third house, hopefully that's likely to change. for this person. And it will bring the focus into the third house of siblings. There could be some sibling dramas. There could also be a desire to be on the move or do some travel, take a road trip or something like that. That's pretty typical for Mars moving through the third house. So we can see as we move this forward by a week, there we go. Mars is right in there. It's across the south node. I hope that demonstration helps you to understand how to implement this in your chart. The crux of it is you just need to look at what zodiacal sign is on what house cusp. If we've got Mercury retrograde in Leo, where is Leo in my chart? Okay, Leo is in the second house. All right, well, therefore, Mercury retrograde is going to be happening through my second house, and it's going to be highlighting second house matters. So it's about fusing those meanings together to get a better understanding, a more personalized understanding about how these transits might affect you in your life. Thanks.